when he's most vulnerable, he's most dangerous. Lucamus Prime here, so it's time for another movie review today in my film series of reviews for the X-Men movies. And this is going to be for what is actually the second of the spin-off movies in the franchise. And this film is also as well a direct continuation of X-Men The Last Stand, which focuses on my favourite X-Men character of all time in his second spin-off. And to me, this is one of only two spin-offs I can accept as existing in my canon for X-Men films. And this film, of course, is none other than 2013's The Wolverine. So, and this is also as well, what I'm going to be reviewing is the Unleashed edition of the film, which I have here on Blu-ray. So, this was also directed by someone who I unfortunately lost respect for recently, but I would regard this as one of my favourite films of the director, James Mangold, if I did have respect for him. So, now, how was this film made then? So, the film's development began in 2009 after the release of the first spin-off movie, which was X-Men Origins Wolverine. Christopher McQuarrie was hired to write a screenplay for this film in August 2009, and in 2010, and Darren Aronofsky was hired to direct the film, but he already departed the film, and also as well, filming was also delayed in 2011 due to a Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in March 2011. Then in June 2011, James Mangold was brought on to replace Aronofsky. And then after that, Mark Bombat was then hired to rewrite the screenplay in September 2011. And the supporting characters were cast in July 2012, with filming beginning at the end of the month around New South Wales, Australia, before moving to Tokyo in August 2012, and then back to New South Wales in October 2012. The film was then converted to 3D in post-production. And the film was then released by 20th Century Fox in various international markets on July 24, 2013 in the United States 2 days later. It received generally positive reviews from critics, with praise for its action sequences, production design, Hugh Jackman's performance as Wolverine, and thematic profundity, though criticism was directed towards the climax. The film earned $414 million worldwide, and it became the fifth highest grossing film in the X-Men film series. And also as well, the unrated extended cut called the Unleashed Edition was also released on Blu-ray, which I of course have here on Blu-ray too. And to me, it's the true version of the movie. So when it comes, of course, to my reaction to this film then, so I can remember my first time as well watching the Unleashed Edition, because I did already see the film on television a few years ago, and I thought it was a good movie, and not the best X-Men movie by any means, but I still thought it was really good in my opinion. I think I'd probably give maybe the theatrical version maybe like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 or something like that. But, however, when I was going on my school trip to China in 2017, in October 2017, I noticed that this film was among many of the films available to watch on the plane. So, and what's also cool is I could also choose which version of the film to watch. So, and if you guys are going to be guessing that I chose the Unleashed Edition, you guessed correctly. So, I gave the Unleashed Edition a watch, and wow. Compared to the theatrical version, which I thought was good at best, I absolutely love the Unleashed Edition. And to me, it's the true version of the film. The true version we should have got in theatres, in my opinion. It's a shame it didn't get an R rating in theatres. In fact, that just really sucks, in my opinion, because I personally think it should have had that rating, and the Unleashed Edition should have been released in cinemas, in my opinion. Because to me, it's a true version. So, now, what is this movie about then? So, of course, this movie acts as a continuation to X-Men The Last Stand. And it focuses on Logan, who is now living a life as a hermit following the events of The Last Stand. And he's, of course, struggling as well with guilt over the death of Jean Grey in The Last Stand, when he's got to then travel to Japan to meet an old acquaintance of his who he'd saved from the atomic bombing of Nagasaki. And then he engages in a struggle which has lasting consequences, where he's stripped of his healing powers, and he must battle deadly samurai while struggling with guilt over Jean's death at the same time. So, now when it comes to what I think is great about this film then, so I think the film has many great cast members in this. So, obviously my favourite part of this movie is the absolute legend, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. As I said before in my reviews for previous movies, there is no other actor I would cast in the role other than him. He was definitely, for me, a perfect casting as Wolverine. And I've got to give him tons and tons of praise for his dedication to the role in this film, because he did lots and lots of training and working out, and you can definitely tell in this film. And considering he was 45 years old when the film released, he definitely looks really good for his age in this film, absolutely. And I was also very impressed with his physique because he actually, as well, intentionally dehydrated himself as well for several days in preparation for that. And it's a pretty dangerous thing to do, of course, but he still did it for all the film for nonetheless. And he definitely had a very good shape, in my opinion, absolutely. And I think Hugh Jackman absolutely nailed it in this film like he always does. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, no one can play Wolverine better than him. And in this film, he absolutely nailed it. When it comes to a film supporting cast, I did like the casting of Tai Okamoto as Mariko, who is, of course, the granddaughter of Logan's acquaintance. And I think Tai did a very good job playing Mariko in this movie, and I think she had very good chemistry with Hugh Jackman in this film as well, absolutely. I did also like Riley Fukushima as Yukio as well, who, of course, is a mutant who of course, can foresee things. And I thought she was, in my opinion, a pretty interesting character, and also a pretty good badass too when it comes to fight scenes as well. And I did also as well, I love the casting of Hiroyuki Sanada as Shinjin, who of course is Yoshida's son. And I definitely really liked him in this. Hiroyuki Sanada is one of my favourite actors, and I think he was definitely brilliant in this film as Shinjin. Did really cool fight scenes, and I think he absolutely nailed it. As a fun fact, he and Hugh Jackman share the same birthday, which is pretty awesome. And I think in this film he did a really great job acting Shinjin to be one of his best roles he's played. And I did also as well, speaking of Yoshida, I definitely really liked Haruhiko Yamanouchi as him in this movie. And I think he did a brilliant job playing him, and you can tell based on his amazing performance how much history he has with Logan, because he appreciates Logan a lot for saving his life in the atomic bombing of Nagasaki. And I definitely really liked his casting in this, and I think he did a brilliant job. And I did also as well love the casting of William Lee in this as Harada, who of course is the head of a Black Ninja clan and former lover of Mariko. And William Lee, in my opinion, is a criminally underrated actor, and I definitely regard Harada as my favourite live-action role of his. My favourite will always being Wei Shen in the game Sleeping Dogs. But I think in this film, he was definitely brilliant in this as Harada, did really awesome fight scenes. He was lots of fun to watch in this film, in my opinion. And when it comes as well to other supporting roles in this, I did also really love the scene with Famke Janssen reprising her role as Jean Grey, where she appears in dreams that Logan has, where he's of course guilty of having to be one to kill her in The Last Stand. I definitely really like the scenes in this, and Famke Janssen has always done a brilliant job playing Jean Grey. You know, in my opinion, her casting is Jean Grey, and she's one of my favourite actors of all time, and also my favourite Dutch actress of all time as well. And I think in this film she did a really great job of playing Jean Grey once again in the dreams that Logan had. So, for what it's worth, the film has a really good cast of actors. And another thing I also definitely loved about this film was definitely for me the action scenes, because especially in the Unleashed edition, the action scenes in my opinion were really mind-blowing. And if you guys were to ask me what my favourite scene is in the film, it's most definitely the Tokyo chase after Yoshida's funeral. Like, wow. That scene in my opinion is absolutely epic, and I love the chase through the city, and also love the chase on the bullet train afterwards. Like, the way they filmed that, I've got to give them lots of praise for that. I was just so impressed, and I definitely really loved seeing this. Like, it was just awesome. And I just really love that. And the action scenes are also really good too as well, in my opinion too. I definitely really love those. And especially in Unleashed edition, absolutely, because what I really appreciate of the Unleashed version is they actually have more blood in them, which I definitely really appreciate, because, like, come on, it's a Wolverine film, it's got to have blood, absolutely. So I'm so glad this version of the film had the blood in it, of course, in the fight scenes. And also as well, I think the film also has really good visuals too, absolutely. I think it does a really great job with the visuals in this. The film even starts off with a pretty intense scene, of course, where Logan, of course, saves Yoshida from the atomic bombing. And I definitely think that was, in my opinion, a very intense start, because, like, when the bomb drops from a city, my heart always pounds when I watch that scene. Like, it's just so intense, in my opinion. And the visual quality of that scene was brilliant too, I must say. And also, as well, I think the CGI for the film is very impressive too, absolutely. I did also love musical score in this, composed by Marco Beltrami. I thought it was great to listen to in this movie. And another thing I also love about the extended version is I also love how Wolverine swears more than just once, because I think it suits his character to swear more. So I definitely like how he didn't just drop the F-bomb once in this film. I like it in the extended version, he dropped it more than once. And also, as well, other things I also loved about the film as well was I definitely really love the setting of Japan in this film. I think it was definitely something brand new for a franchise, and And I love how this film was very respectful towards Japanese culture. And coming from somebody who regards Japan as my favourite country of all time, I think that they definitely really nailed it with respecting the country's culture, in my opinion. I just really love what they did with Japan in this movie. And seeing, of course, many of the iconic locations of Japan, such as the beautiful city of Tokyo, for example. Like, just, in my opinion, amazing. And what I also definitely love was also, of course, the setups for more to come. For example, of course, we get a pretty awesome credit scene as well, out where Wolverine returns to America, several years after a movie where he's been on some adventures with Yukio, where, of course, we see was a pretty cool teaser for the next movie being X-Men Days of Future Past, where, of course, he encounters Magneto and a resurrected Professor X at the airport, and they, of course, inform him about a threat to the mutant kind. So that was definitely a really awesome setup for Days of Future Past right there. And I definitely really love that because it paved way for my favourite X-Men movie. And there's also a case of foreshadowing in this film when it comes to foreshadowing Logan's death. Because Yukio predicts that Logan will die holding his heart in his hand. And while he, of course, doesn't die in this movie, he, of course, meets his fate in Logan, the next Wolverine spin-off movie. And of course, he ends up dying holding, of course, the hand of his daughter Laura in that film, who is effectively his heart. So, while of course he didn't die in this film, Yukio was ultimately right about his fate. And also, as well, I think another great thing about this film as well is also for me the pacing to it, especially when it comes to the Unleashed version having more scenes, because I definitely think the film never gets boring in my opinion, because despite being of course awesome, over 2 hours long, in my opinion it's paced really well, doesn't get boring in my opinion, it's just lots of fun. And that's why I definitely regard it as one of my favourite X-Men movies of all time, especially of course when I'm talking about Unleashed version, because that to me is the true version we should have got in the cinemas, absolutely. Like, it's a shame really they had to tone it down, because in my opinion that was not needed. They should have just released the Unleashed version as the true theatrical version in my opinion. So, but nonetheless, for still, the film is great, and I definitely really love it. However, if I was to think of any bad qualities with this film then, so my biggest bad quality with this movie is probably, of course, one of the film's supporting villains, and that, of course, is the Viper. Because in this film, she's really unfavourable to the comics, because for some reason they made her a mutant in this film, which she's not. Because in the comics, guys, she's also known as Madam Hydra. And this one doesn't even acknowledge that whatsoever, which in my opinion is just ridiculous. And Svetlana Kudchenkova's acting she did go what she was given, but in my opinion, for the character in my opinion was pretty cringe and annoying, unfortunately. And especially the scene in the climax where she takes off her face and her hair, like, oh god. Like, that scene was just pure cringe in my opinion, oh god. Like, so I really didn't like what we did with Viper in this movie. She was very unfavorable to the comics. Not to mention, they swapped, of course, mutant and human with her and Harada, because Harada is also, as well, not a mutant in this film, when in the comics he is. Because he's supposed to be who the film's main villain is, being the Silver Samurai. Because that's who the film introduces as the main villain. And personally, guys, I was not a fan of the Silver Samurai in this film, because for some reason it's revealed, of course, that Yoshida has faked his death, despite, of course, appearing to have died in his home on the night that Logan returned to visit him. He faked his death, and now, of course, he's a Silver Samurai wearing a giant silver mech suit. But, like, that's not what Silver Samurai is in the comics at all. And we even see his costume at the funeral too as well, but why couldn't he just worn that? Why couldn't Harada have worn that? So I personally didn't like what we did with Silver Samurai in my opinion. That just didn't work for me. Not to mention the twist where he was revealed to be Yoshida, in my opinion, didn't work, because, like I said, he's supposed to be Harada, not Yoshida. So that just didn't work for me, really. And I feel like also as well that Yoshida's fate was also as well very anticlimactic, because he seemingly gets, of course, defeated when his granddaughter intervenes by stabbing him, and then Logan regenerates his bone claws after losing his adamantium claws, and then tosses him off the tower into a snowy cliff below. Like, really? That's how he dies? Like, come on. So I personally think that he deserved a much better defeat than that, to be completely honest. I mean, a better characterization and a better defeat, in my opinion. That's what I'll say. Because I feel like it was very anticlimactic in that sense. Just disappointing, really. And of course, I also didn't like how the Unleashed had scenes which were cut from the theatrical version. Like, why did they cut them from the theatrical version? That just really sucked, in my opinion. Like, the Unleashed version is what we should have got in the cinemas, to me. And also as well, when it comes as well to other things they cut, they also as well cut a scene where Wolverine gets to see his iconic comic book outfit, this. Like, why do we cut that? That would have been awesome to see that appear on the big screen, but sadly it wasn't the case. Was it just a deleted scene, so that really sucked. But nonetheless, I still absolutely love the Wolverine. It's definitely, for me, one of my favourites out of the X-Men movies of all time. We'll talk about the Unleashed version, that is, in my opinion, because that, to me, is the true version of a movie. So, when it comes, of course, to what I think of the film overall, then, so I give the theatrical version a decent score, 7 out of 10 at best, because I didn't like how it cut out several scenes which were important to a story. But thankfully, in the Unleashed version, and of course, the lack of blood and gore, which is disappointing, in my opinion, because it's supposed to be a Wolverine movie. I would, however, give the Unleashed version a very solid score of 9 out of 10. That, to me, is my final score for the film when it comes to the extended Unleashed edition, as far as I'm concerned. The only bad quality is I didn't like the characterization for the Silver Samurai or the Viper, especially the Viper. And also the anticlimactic ending as well, in my opinion, was also not good. I also didn't really like the scene where Wolverine had to put down a bear too. That was pretty sad, in my opinion, because some hunters had killed it the wrong way and left it to die poisoned and dying slowly. That was just, in my opinion, cruel. So thankfully Logan put out its misery, but that was just sad to see, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I still love the Wolverine. Unleashed version for me gets a 9 out of 10, but theatrical version probably gets like a 7 out of 10 from me. So, anyway guys, this was me of course, doing my review for, of course, 2013's The Wolverine. Hard to believe it's 11 years old, goodness me. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to look in the comments what you guys think of Wolverine. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe and what else coming in the future. And I'll see you all later.